Pledge the flag. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting of the Monongalia County Commission to order. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let the record reflect that all three commissioners are present. First item on the agenda is consent and approval with our county administrator, Renee McCord. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning. You have 39 exonerations for $23,224.04. 2 requests to create new statements, $4,223.18. Minutes for October 16th, 2024. Vouchers, General County Fund, $49,228.29. 911, $921.80. Chestnut Ridge Park, $1,771.96. Camp Muffley, $2,616.98. Mason-Dixon Park, $2,047.54. Morgantown Industrial TIF, $59,473.33. Purchasing card vouchers, General County, $7,035.11. Magistrate Court, $17.74. 911, $220.34. Chestnut Ridge Park, $964.23. Camp Muffley, $152.96. Mason-Dixon Park, $142.87. Mon County Center, $573.99. Assessor's valuation, $95.45 for a voucher total of $125,262.59. You have no budget revisions. Position vacancies for boards and authorities are listed on our website, and fiduciary orders for October 23rd, 2024.
Okay, motion to approve the consent and approval items as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do you have any additional fiduciary items?
Yes. If you recall, about a month ago, you had a petition to remove the executor in the estate of Robert Lee Pyle. You gave 30 days for the executor to make sure that she had all the reports up to date. I believe the date that you had that administrative closure hearing, she submitted the reports. There has not been any objections to any of the accountings that were filed. So,
yeah, at this time, I would move we take no action on the petition or remove the executor as the filings have been made up to date, and the normal process for objections to those would now be in place for the petitioning party to object to those accountings. And let the normal estate process take its course.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I guess I had it on the motion, but I believe I saw Peter Giggenbach here. I think it'd be appropriate to allow him to speak.
Sure.
He requested earlier.
Thank you. As I understand it, if no action is being taken and the window is open for objections, then we have no objection.
Okay.
That would be the motion, yes.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other fiduciary items?
no, sir.
Introduction to new employee personnel changes.
Jimmy, sir.
Jimmy, good morning.
Morning, commissioners.
Morning.
This morning, we're introducing Bryce Fisher. He'll be starting November 1st at a starting salary of $3,425.10 per month.
Move to approve Mr. Fisher as employee as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had another item from the Youth Services Center, but that person has declined the offer of employment. So,
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. We'll now open the comments from the public session up. Please understand that we will have a public hearing regarding the rezoning matter, so any discussion regarding that matter should be held for the public hearing. This is just a public hearing session for general comments to the county.
Mike Payton, I live in McCurtisville, voter resident. I'm a District 31 Vice President for the United Mine Workers. I am the union representative of the workers of the Mon County Assessor's Office. And this commission asks that people don't spread lies. So I would like to have some clarification. I appreciate the work session. I believe it was moved so that the truth of the work session does not affect the election. So the lies that are being spread about the legal part of it, that it's not legal to do that, is that the position? Because if the commission truly believes, and I value your opinion because it is permissive in the state of West Virginia for public employees to stand together, to join a union, and to have collective bargaining, if it's agreed upon, it is permissive. There is cases out there. So if the commission truly is standing on the ground that it is not legal, does the commission believe that in 18 and 19, the teachers who went on strike and was publicly supported were violating the law? Because that's the part of the law that is being quoted. Do you believe the mayor of Huntington and the municipalities that are in a union under a collective bargaining, Mingo County commissioners and their employees who are in a union under a collective bargaining, Logan County commissions, does this commission, if you believe it's not legal, do you believe they should all be arrested and terminated? If you truly believe it's not legal, do you stand with your other commissioners and think that they violated the law, is what I would like to ask. And secondly, as a voter, I look up to you all. You're my commission. And I've been at these meetings. I'm asking this commission, my Mon County Commission, that anytime someone stands from the public in opposition of your opinion, that we refrain from calling them a fool. I am no fool. I have been called a fool in this meeting, and Miss Mary was called a fool in the last meeting. It was insinuated, but it was hit. It was directed. So please, let's all be adults. Let's be respectful. Just because there's a difference of opinion, we should not refer to another citizen as a fool. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Anyone else?
Hi, Mary Ann Babbage Foles, 828 Bloody Run Road. I just wanted to follow up on the conversation from last week and just clarify, this is regarding the rail trail. I have absolutely I was not making any kind of a comment about the folks who maintain that trail in terms of either the Mon County River Conservancy or whatever the name, I forget the exact wording for that one, or the Friends for Deckers Creek, or the folks who build those trails. In fact, every time I go to Walmart, I round up to Friends of Deckers Creek. That's who I've been donating my money to for months. So I don't have any concerns at all with the folks who are maintaining that trail. The trails are very nicely maintained, but safety is a concern, and that's what my comments were about last week. And I do have pictures. I'm trying to figure out how to get them to you as easily as possible so you don't get 20 pictures. I want to try to consolidate that for you. But I would just say, in the past couple of months, as I'm out talking with people, I've spoken with about 30 people about the rail trail specifically, and every single person that I spoke with had a concern either about safety or feeling uncomfortable or feeling like there were areas that were, there was a decent amount of trash, or there's a lot of graffiti down there, and folks living there. I can give you example after example after example. But what I would ask is, don't believe me. Don't believe the 30 people that I've spoken with. I'd ask you, you're all married, just ask your wife to go down to the rail trail and walk from the amphitheater down to the dog park along Deckers Creek, and then listen to what she says. Because I think they will give you an honest response of their impression of the rail trail. It's a very different experience when you're a 200-pound athletic man on a bike, or down there on a Saturday morning with 100 other people, because I've done that too, and it's a different feeling when you're there walking your dog or just taking a walk. So that's what I would ask you to do, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Now close public meeting portion. Next item on the agenda is a presentation. Sheriff Palmer, 2023 delinquent list.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's getting thinner.
So, what my Chief Tax Deputy Kelly's presenting you all with is a list of properties to be suspended from the certification to the auditor for the 2023 tax year. She's also presenting you with a form to ask the Commission's approval to unsuspend a group of properties so we can include them in the tax year 2023 certification to the auditor. If you have any questions on the numbers, there's my numbers.
So we are suspending from the 2023 taxes 1,488 tickets. Of those, 1,355 are interest in minerals only, and we are prohibited from selling those or certifying those to the auditor. 48 are in bankruptcy, and 83 were previously sold with no deed issued. One is a condemnation, which is they're in negotiations with the Department of Highways, and then one questionable deed that we've carried for as long as I've been here. And then for those that we are removing from suspension or unsuspending, there are only 6. And those, the reason to reinstate those for certification is the deed or the redemption was issued too late to be included last year.
Okay.
And then just the Sheriff wanted me to remind everyone that the real estate taxes that are delinquent for 2023 will be certified to the state auditor on Thursday, October the 31st, 2024 at the close of business. So the last day to pay is the 31st, but we're asking everyone to pay by 4 p.m. so that or at least be here by 4 p.m. so that we can process all of those payments. And we're cautioning people not to wait until the last minute to go online to pay, because in the last 2 years, we've actually had a jam online that people were not able to pay. So we're cautioning them not to wait until the last minute to try and go online and pay at 4:25.
I know you usually do. Did you provide a historical perspective as far as what the numbers look like this year?
Actually, they are pretty comparable to last year. When I looked at those, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact numbers with me, but when I was compiling this one, the numbers were very, very similar.
Move to accept the tickets for certification as presented, as well as to reinstate the tickets that have been requested to be reinstated, and suspend the ones that were requested to be suspended so that they can move forward and certify into the state.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Just to clarify, these aren't taxes that are being forgiven. These taxes will eventually be paid
Correct, yes.
through the extensive effort of our tax office and our sheriff. Thank you very much. We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a second reading and public hearing regarding a proposed amendment to the Western Planning District zoning map designation from neighborhood density residential R2 to high density residential R4 on the property legally described as Morgan District, tax map 4E, parcel 26.1. As the agenda item states, this is a public hearing, so I'll open up this matter for public hearing. Again, I have to read the purpose of the meeting: to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed amendment to the Western Planning District zoning map designation from neighborhood density residential R2 to high density residential R4 of the property legally described as Morgan District, tax map 4E, parcel 26.1. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. This amendment was posted in the paper on 10/4 and 10/18 as required. First reading was held on 10/16. The second reading, this qualifies as the second reading, and the public hearing are both today. Any relevant and evidence may be considered if it's a sort of evidence which responsible individuals are accustomed to rely on in the conduct of affairs. The chair, myself, will exclude irrelevant or redundant testimony and may make other such rulings as may be necessary for the orderly conduct of the proceedings, ensuring basic fairness and full airing of the issues involved. In order to expedite the conduct of the meeting, the chair may limit the amount of time that a person may use in addressing the board commission. Example, by limiting comments to 3-5 minutes. The chair will also limit the speakers or testimony upon a repetitive and cumulative evidence. Again, that's all at the discretion of the president. If you're presenting information, I want the full information to be presented. So that doesn't mean that you only have 3 minutes to state your case. I just mean that for any follow-on testimony, we may limit it because we got a full agenda here today. After all evidence has been submitted to the commission may ask questions of the staff, the applicant, or persons in the audience pertaining to the matter under consideration. So the first item on the agenda is to presentation of staff, of the staff report and report any communications received. So first I will ask our staff whether we received any communication regarding this matter.
Yes. Hang on, let me get there.
Your microphone's unplugged. Mine was as well. There we go. All right.
All right. It looks like we've had several emails. Luann Hendershot, 2 emails from Nancy Eisentraut, and an email from Steve Solomon. There's also been a couple of pieces of correspondence sent directly to the Planning Commission. It looks like a Meg Bowman maybe, or a Laura Ray.
Okay. And the correspondence that was sent to the commission, that was forwarded to the commission, there was one email against, well, it was actually 2 emails against from the same person, and the rest were the Planning Commission relaying communication back and forth to a citizen. And so to be completely transparent, those items were presented, but it's hard to discern from those emails whether someone was for or against. They just had a lot more questions about the actual DSI and the conditions that had to be met. So those will all be brought up in the rightful place in the meeting. So I asked our planner to come up and present a summary of the issue in front of us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Andrew Gaspray, Director of Planning for Monongalia County Planning Commission. This has been a long process over many months, so I beg your indulgence as I try to make everything clear. In front of you is a request for Amendment MA 001-2024 to the West Run Planning District zoning map from neighborhood density residential R2 to high-density residential R4 in order to develop the site with 8 structures of 3 stories for a total of 30 3-bed units on 2.45 acres. Due to the number of units requested, the applicant was also required to be approved for a development of significant impact, or DSI, DSI number 002-2024. Review of the map amendment by staff and the Planning Commission, or MCPC, included submissions regarding consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with overall neighborhood development patterns, and consultation with independent subject matter experts / other approving entities, which are also here and available should questions arise. From MUB, we have Ken Hacker. From the city, Damian Davis. This access street, I remind everyone, is a city of Morgantown street, as well as from MAP, the Morgantown Area Partnership, Russ Rogerson, concerning the Build West Virginia grant. The applicant is going to present the information to you, so I'll not repeat the material here, but will remain available to answer questions on the MCPC's review of that material after that presentation, should you so choose. Throughout the process, there have been several work sessions, both with the applicant and with surrounding property owners, as well as a 2-part hearing. On August 14th, 2024, the MCPC heard both the DSI and MAP amendment. Since a MAP amendment considers the infrastructure sufficiency in addition to neighborhood context in the same way as the DSI, the map amendment was recommended for approval to the County Commission with a condition tying it to approval and development of the DSI, pending its review. The DSI was tabled to the next MCPC meeting as all the details to be reviewed by the MCPC had not been submitted prior to the meeting. On September 11th, 2024, the MCPC untabled the DSI and reviewed the additional materials. To address infrastructure issues, which is the biggest concern, the DSI was approved with 9 conditions regarding state fire marshal review, MUB review, West Virginia DEP review, road improvements, the map amendment recommending approval to, and the DSI being tied to the map amendment. Come right back to that. The MCPC also reconfirmed the map amendment recommending approval to the County Commission after the DSI was approved. Additionally, there were 15 comments received from the public from the start of this process to the MCPC approval of the DSI and recommendation of approval of the map amendment. Those comments have been provided to you and has been alluded to already. In summary, because it's a lot, the MCPC has recommended approval to you for the map amendment. However, please allow me to reiterate that should you approve the map amendment, it would still be conditioned on the applicant meeting all the conditions of the DSI as laid down by the MCPC. Thus, if you approve and all the conditions are not met, then the development does not proceed without going through the process for an amendment or reapplying. If you do not approve the map amendment, the development does not proceed. If you approve and all the conditions are met, verified by the MCPC, then and only then is the map finally amended. So that way it can be undone, so you haven't changed the map at this point, okay? We would then, according to our process, bring the amended map to you for signature. And at that point it becomes, so they have met all the conditions, it's going forward, then it becomes an amended map. Any questions on the report so far?
I just want to make one clarification. When you spoke about multiple work sessions, you're talking about with the Planning Commission. I don't want anybody to perceive that the commission has been meeting regularly regarding this matter.
Correct. And there also have been many meetings that the developer has had with the neighborhood. I've been invited to some of those. I've been invited out to the neighborhood to present our process for the MCPC and what those considerations are, et cetera. There have been a number of them, and those were all read in detail at the Planning Commission meetings, but if you have any questions on any of those, I'd be happy to share that information with you.
Okay.
Other than that, I am available to answer any other questions you may have, but at this point, I will step back and allow the process to proceed.
Okay. We will present all the information and then we'll go with questions. Again, I just wanted to clarify while you were speaking what you meant by work sessions. So now invite input on behalf of the petitioner. Can you hear me now?
Very little.
Can you hear me now? All right. Well, if I make an attempt to speak very loud, can you hear that? I apologize. There seems to be something wrong with my microphone. Okay. So we will now have the presentation from the petitioner. Thank you for letting me know.
Morning.
Morning.
My name
Morning.
is Scott Cope, and I'm with Cheat Road Engineering, or CRE. I'm the agent on behalf of RDR Properties. I'm the engineer who's been working on the design of the project, and I'll be walking through the information here this morning. Let's see if I can get this thing started. So just some real quick little background. The highlighted parcel.
Sir?
Yep.
It's still hard to hear you.
I will do my best to speak more loudly. All right.
We're going to try to address, our office manager is going to address that with AV right now as well.
So just a little bit of background on the project. The highlighted parcel here in the middle of the screen is the subject property. You can see its location relative to Suncrest Town Center, Mountaineer Field, WVU Hospital, and downtown areas of Morgantown. Currently, again, the subject parcels here in the middle, what's highlighted. As was said earlier, the project's currently, or the site's currently zoned R2. We're requesting it to be zoned, or the map to be amended to designated as an R4 zoning. On two sides immediately adjacent to the property are currently zoned R4. Across the street is zoned R2, and this area is actually within the city limits of Morgantown, so we're right on the corporate line here. Based on one of the requirements of a map amendment is that it be in accordance with the comprehensive plan. This map 2.3-1 comes straight out of the comprehensive plan, and it shows a variety of things. But one of the more important things for our discussion is the areas identified for growth in the county. As you can see, our parcel is right here. It's on the edge of the yellow because the gray again is the city of Morgantown, but we're right in the heart of the growth area. So designating this from R2 to R4 is in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the fact that it allows more easily for growth in the county. Another important thing is when you're looking at the adjacent versus proposed land use. So the pictures on the left are a few of the residences of Acorn Village, which are directly adjacent to this parcel just to the north. Which they're not really townhomes, but they're similar in nature. They just aren't connected. And then Fairway Village on the right is a development done by this developer out near Cheat Lake. That these are the same style townhomes that'll be constructed on the property when we're done. This isn't the exact finishes. It'll actually be higher end finishes, more brick and hardy back and stuff like that. But it's just to show that they are similar. The other major thing with the map amendment is infrastructure. This is a blow up of the site plan itself as has been presented to the Planning Commission and conditionally approved through the DSI process. The shaded areas in the middle are the roads. These boxes are the proposed townhome units. McCullough Street is down here at the bottom of the screen, and then the subdivision roads to the right. So through the process of working through this, meeting with the neighborhoods, meeting with the Mon County Planning Commission, and going through this for the past few months, there were several concerns brought up and we believe addressed by the adjacent neighborhoods, one of which had to do with traffic. Traffic on McCullough Street's a concern, but also traffic coming out onto the neighboring road. So we've got two entrances in and out of the development. That will alleviate most of the traffic coming onto the neighborhood road. And will allow people to directly enter onto McCullough Street. The other thing is pedestrian traffic or pedestrian use is a concern. There's no sidewalks in this area. We're actually proposing a sidewalk for the full length of the property. It doesn't really go anywhere here and it doesn't go anywhere here, but it will allow for at least the perimeter of our property to have pedestrian access via sidewalk. There were some questions about putting in a bus shelter. Apparently the kids in the neighborhood they catch the bus right here near this intersection of the neighborhood street, Hoffman, McCullough. We did look into trying to provide a bus shelter. That presents a pretty significant insurance issue and liability and such things. So there is not going to be a bus shelter constructed, but the sidewalk will be there. They'll be able to utilize it. They'll be able to stand on it. Previously they stood in this driveway. Now they'll have a sidewalk to stand on, so they'll be out of the road on a curb sidewalk. Safety, is recognized and should be good there. The other thing is we're putting in or actually have to move one stop sign on this side of the intersection. We'll be putting in a thermoplastic stop on the street and the stop bar just to help awareness. We'll also be adding a stop sign on Hoffman, and we're widening McCullough Street in this area. All of this information has been presented to the city and accepted, and Mr. Davis is here if you have questions for him specifically about this. He's reviewed it and indicated that all of this is in line with what they'd like to see and that they're on board with it. The other next big thing, infrastructure-wise, would be the utilities. Sewer and water utilities, power, that type of thing are relatively strong in this area. There's no real concern about being able to provide sewer capacity, water, or drawing too much from the grid. But stormwater is a major concern in this area, and it has been for quite some time. In this image, the subject property is at the bottom middle here, and this blue line indicates the entire drainage area that's incorporated to the low end of our property, to the low end of the subject property. Now, obviously, this stormwater would continue downstream through Chateau Royale and down ultimately to Willowdale Road, where everybody's probably aware there's been some storm issues in the past. But really, the purpose of this is just to show the scope of the watershed and where all the contributing stormwater comes from during rainfall events, and the size of our property, if you will, relative to that. I do want to note that previously MUB has done stormwater improvements from Willowdale Road up to this point right here along Valley View, which you'll see here in a little bit later. There'll be some more detail on that. Again, Ken Hacker with the Morgantown Utility Board's here. So if you have specific questions for MUB, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those. But going into this, and after speaking with the neighborhoods, it became abundantly clear that storm was a primary concern of everybody in the area. So what we've done is we've worked with MUB. We've spoken and met with the folks at Acorn Village. We've met with the owners of Chateau, which are CZS, which Mr. Solomon, one of the owners, is here today as well, over here. And we've come up with a plan to upgrade the storm system from the end of MUB's previous improvements, which is down here along Valley View, up through the CZS property to basically their maintenance area and their fitness center. And then we come up along the common line of Chateau and Tanglewood to this point. And then we turn and go clear up the road, or I'm sorry, I spoke incorrectly. The common line of Chateau and Acorn Village, not Tanglewood. And then we turn and we come clear up the road of Acorn Village to this location where we're putting spurs in so MUB can do future upgrades and, if they're able. Not knowing today which way they might go, either this direction or ultimately this direction. They have the option available to them, whatever would work best in the future. With that, we come on up and we collect all of our on-site stormwater through inlets and piping and discharge directly into this new system. This system was designed initially and evaluated by MUB via Strand & Associates. They'd actually done a study on this area a few years ago, and they evaluated pipe sizes that were needed, and that's the basis for the design that we worked with to come up with this solution. We have met with MUB and believe we're in agreement, but again, you can confirm with Mr. Hacker that this system is appropriate and adequate. We do have to continue and finalize the construction agreement with MUB, which is one of the contingencies of the DSI application. So again, even if you approve the map amendment today, it doesn't immediately implement the DSI because there are other contingencies that have to be completed. And we have to finalize rights-of-way agreement with CZS. Obviously, they have some concerns about access and accessibility of their tenants during construction, and we need to hammer some things out there with them as far as making sure that their complex is still usable during construction. But again, I don't have any concerns about anything not getting done or completed with regards to agreements. It's just the finer details of what we need to do. And let me make sure I touched on everything. I believe yes, I believe that is everything. So
Okay.
if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, we'll present all the sides and then we'll go
Okay.
to a round of questions. So
Sounds good.
I'll now call on anybody that's in support of the request or being presented to come forward. Okay. Seeing none, I'll call on those that are opposed to the request to come forward.
Hi, I wasn't sure how to respond to that because our support is conditional. My name is Lou Ann Hendershot, and I'm a homeowner in Acorn Village as well as the president of the association. Just some limited back history. We were assured for at least the 20 years I have lived in Acorn Village that the Coberly property was protected from development. We were assured by Mrs. Coberly that that was protected in her will. We do not know when that was changed, and we were very surprised to see a sign go up for the commercial sale of her property, since for 20 years she had pledged to us in the communities of Tanglewood, Acorn Village, and Park Hills that that would never be the case. She was also very aware of the flooding issues that we've had in our neighborhood based on the developments that have come up after our communities were built. So Acorn Village and Tanglewood were built roughly in the early 1980s, and around us developed Chateau Royale as well as Ashley Oaks. Up until the time that those two developments were put in, I have no record in any of our association history that we had had any flooding problems in our neighborhood. Our systems were fully adequate to manage our needs, and until that time, we had no flooding. Since that time, we have been flooded numerous times. To the financial and emotional detriment of our property owners. And that's why I say that I'm standing here conditionally, because it appears that this development fits into the county commission's West Run development plan. So they are fully in favor of something happening. We are only in favor, or I can only speak for myself, because I recused myself from representing the association at large because I couldn't get anybody to answer any of my questions. So I am conditionally feeling positive about this because I have, and 3 of our other community members have been working very, very closely with Scott and with Andrew and with the Biaforas, trying to develop a plan that would effectively protect us from additional flooding and put us in a better position. So if the DSI, as it stands now, I personally am in favor of approving this. But heart of hearts, I want this protected as a green space, not as another development in what seems to be a very overdeveloped neighborhood. As well as the fact that our neighborhood, Acorn Village, was zoned R4, and we have 17 single-family homes in a property area, a land space that's equal to or similar to the property that's going to be developed. So we are single-family homes. Tanglewood is single-family homes. We have a family neighborhood here. And we are surrounded on two sides already by development. So I'm not quite sure how that improves the quality of our lives. We certainly appreciate the fact that the BFORs are willing to put sidewalks in on a street that has never been in need of sidewalks. We walk there all the time safely with no concerns about anybody running us over. We have limited traffic. We are captured neighborhoods, so you can't come through and go anywhere. And we are concerned also about the intersection of McCullough and Willowdale, where there was recently a very bad accident, and we can only foresee that there is going to be more traffic at that intersection. We have no line sight looking left when we come down McCullough and go onto Willowdale. We can't see. There's a hillside. So that is going to be an additional problem we hope is managed. Many of, I can't say many, some of our homeowners have had their homeowners insurance canceled due to these flooding issues. We have also been denied flood insurance. So my husband and I had no coverage even though we had flood insurance for the last 20 years. They refused to cover this last flood. That cost us to date $40,000 to bring back to our normal positions. So we are hoping that this commission will take responsibility for the consequences that occur if this is approved. If in fact it's approved and everything goes as planned and we still have flooding issues, someone needs to help us. We've been victimized too many times. And we need someone having our back. Having said that, I believe the BFORs and the Planning Commission have done their best to make a viable plan. We just don't know who's going to enforce it, what's going to happen if it goes left, and we need some assurances about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to speak against? Sure.
We're still only in favor first.
I'm here from
This
Tanglewood
is opposed.
subdivision.
Oh.
Just was
I'm sorry, did I say in support?
Well, Ms. Hendershot had come up, I think, during the in favor of.
No, in the opposed section,
Okay.
because nobody spoke for opposed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the opposed
Now we're
section.
starting opposed. Okay, that's fine.
Sorry.
So these are individuals speaking in opposition.
Opposition, okay.
And again, I understand.
Right, I got you.
I understand what Ms. Hendershot was saying, so.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I would agree with her. My name is Lynn Baker, and we've lived in Tanglewood since 1996. And, I was looking over some of the minutes from our homeowners association meetings. Back May 6, 2002, they were drafting a letter to the developer because of the apartments that were being built behind Tanglewood at that point. They were concerned. Also in 2002, Mr. Biafora had called to express his desire for us to know that he would take every precaution to prevent runoff from his property that would damage our development. As you know, that was not the case. We had 3 homes with substantial water and sewage damage as a direct result of the construction of these apartments. It's the Valley View Woods apartments. We have been and are in contact with the MUB people trying to make sure this does not happen again. The neighborhood is drafting a letter to MUB in reference to the fact that when we want them to repair a storm drain, it is ours and we are responsible for it. But when we want to prevent someone from hooking into it, it is theirs and we have no control. In 2007, there was a mention in the minutes about Mrs. Coberly. They tried to get her to join the homeowners association, and she did not want to, which I can sort of understand her point. Mrs. Coberly informed Mark that she has no interest in joining our association but that she has taken measures to ensure that her property would not be sold for the purpose of a developer putting in townhomes or apartments. This is what she told us all along, and now there's a will from 2014, 7 years after this, that does not mention it. But she told us several times. Scott Copen came by a lot to talk about the issues that we had with drainage. So I have all these things over and over again, and basically what we were told, okay, you're not going to have any problems. We did have problems, and there was no one to go to. Nobody would support our development. The homeowners, just like Luann, we had to, some of our homeowners have had to spend significant money fixing, and we didn't have this flooding issue before all these were put in. Now we're being promised, okay, they're going to correct the drainage situation, but we have to now have 30 townhomes there and put up with the congestion. We have no guarantees in writing that anything, we have to pay for our own road maintenance since we're in the county. So we are very careful about making sure our people pay dues every year and funding the paving of our roads and the plowing of our roads. His development will be using our roads, but they were not going to help us pave or plow the roads. That's going to be up to us. That's another concern. I think McCullough is not safe the way it is, even widening this one part. I used to walk to the hospital, no sidewalks there, parking on one side of the street. You've got cars weaving in and out. I think McCullough has to be, and the danger at where it intersects Willowdale, I think they need to address that. And anyway, with everything that's going on with Shorty Anderson's now, this is basically the same situation. When our, developments were put in, we had our, the storm sewers, everything in there. But since then, all these developments have been put in around us, above us, and now we are being told that we have to foot the bill. Now, that's the carrot that they have out in front of us now. If we allow this, if this development, not that we can allow it, but if it goes through, they will now correct it, and we should not have the drainage situations. But we have no written guarantee. And just like she was saying, who do we go to when this doesn't work? So,
Well, we will certainly address those questions as we go forward.
yeah.
Anything else, ma'am? Thank you, Ms. Baker. Anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
Come on down.
Your third time's a charm.
Yeah.
Hello. Excuse me for being a little nervous, but I will do my best. My name is Meg Boffman. If Boffman and everybody mispronounces it, so no big deal. I'm from 21 Citadel Road. I reside in Park Hills. I'm one of the few people that have lived in Park Hills since it was developed. Yes, that makes me a little old. It is nearly a 75-year-old development that is run by deed. No, you can't change things because it runs with the land, and we have enjoyed that status for a long time. First of all, I'd like to say that we are not against development of the Coberly property. We just believe that an R2 designation will do it significantly and well. In fact, do a blended job. It'll be less infrastructure problems. We would hope, I think the R2 designation, if I'm not mistaken, allows 4 homes on per acre. That means there's 2.5 acres that would make it 8 to 9 homes. And that would be good. You wouldn't have the same problems with the pressure of the infrastructure. You'll have less people, less cars, and it will blend it with the surrounding area. Acorn Village is not townhomes. It is single-family, private homes. And the the comings and goings from it is not out in the R4 area. They go through Tanglewood, up their road. So it's really a part of the Tanglewood area, Park Hills area. So I would submit to you that there's only R4 on one side of that property, that in truth, it's family homes surrounding it. And also in front is single-family homes that the city has on the other side of McCullough. So that would make it complete like a C. There wouldn't be, it would change the character of that property and the area. Also, that area would be a good transitional area for blending into the C of R4, which stretches on and on. The West Run Planning Commission, I think, or zoning, I believe, was to develop and curtail untoward development. There were buildings that built right up to the property. There was no setbacks, and it was there to help keep a balance with the land use. And that's, I think, these townhomes would not be in with the land use of that area, but developing it as an R2, which is designated and expected, would help keep the area the same, and also be a blend, because it would be more active use than what is being used in Tanglewood and in Park Hills. Park Hills are more like R1 in reality as far as the land use. But it's a neighborhood, and it's sort of a mixed bag. And so this R2 would be perfect to transition to the townhomes, not the townhomes, but the apartments and such on the rest of McCullough on the non-city side. And therefore, we would also have, it would be better to do that with. The bus issue is a problem. That little intersection is very fragile. I think just all you do is move the bottleneck. If you put a little widening at a certain place, you just move the bottleneck down. The one thing that's really nice that's happening, it seems like there's a revitalization on the city side, that certain homes on near Park Hills and near Tanglewood are been revitalized. They look lovely, and it's sort of starting from that end and working its way down. On the other side, on the city, those homes are still those small homes, but they're utilized as rentals. If I may go to my notes.
Sure, absolutely.
The Planning Commission believes that they must always favor density, but I submit to you that the R2 designation is a good density for that property. Also, there's the way it lays, it's sort of flat, and then it goes down, it's steep. I think homes would be a better choice there. Then, of course, to repeat a little bit, the plans are for 30 units with 3 bedrooms. That means 90 people if they have 1 person per bedroom with 90 cars. The garages and the space outside will provide for 4 spaces. So there's a potential of 120 cars in this little 2-acre lot. Whereas if it was developed with the R2 designation, we would have, I'm talking 9 at the most, maybe 18, maybe a few more. That's all the cars that would be using that. The other thing that I think is extremely unfair is that they propose 2 exits, from one coming on Dartmouth, which would make it crowded for the Acorn people coming and the Tanglewood people coming out of that. It would just add. And then the other is they've sort of moved it down a little further from the intersection, but it's still going to be like a 5-way intersection in reality. And it's just too fragile, and there's really nowhere to go. Property is tight, and sort of, I would say if it was in the county, it would be R2, the property along McCullough, the property, and then in Citadel, where I live, and the rest of Park Hills, that's also private road. We maintain it, and we'll add a burdensome amount of cars and traffic on that. And we have no assurance and no help of, with this utilizing these our roads. and they're small. I mean, it's during game days that we have six. We always think the great 6 days of football. We have traffic problems, and we try to be nice and allow people to park there. But you know, that I can see that being 24/7, 368 days with this with the R4 designation. Again, I think developing that property for single-family homes is what the Planning Commission really wants, because they're wanting, the density issue is for low and middle income people to have homes and families, and that would be perfect there. And I think Mrs. Copley would agree with that. And also the Beafors do spectacular work, and it's going to be a luxury condominium kind of situation, rentals for students. And that is not homes for low and middle camp, which is what the real purpose, I believe, of the West Rung is. So then we have the other problems of safety for the children. I think that the water issue will be easier to deal with the R2 designation. And also go with the tone of the whole neighborhood, of the whole area there, I think is important. Are there any questions?
No, we'll get to questions as we go
Okay.
on. We want everybody to
Thank you
listen.
for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boffman. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
You got any neutrals?
Well, you can speak
You can
on-
speak during that
Since the
time.
other session's done, you can
Yeah.
speak on this one and state that. Good morning.
Good morning. How you all doing?
Great.
Good.
Good, good. Andy Lawrence. I live at 15 Amherst, and also I own a property on Bates Street. Those are in Park Hills. I've lived in that area for my whole life. Not Park Hills, but up the road from Shorty's, Lewis Street, Wilbourn Street, which we've seen a lot of things happen in those areas over the time. Before I get started into what I want to say, we have a petition that we sent around that I want to present and just make sure you all have, of property owners that are against the rezoning. Actually, we could have had more people. The weather was so nice, people were out and about, but I know the majority of people are against of it in Park Hills. Tanglewood, we couldn't get a hold of some people that we needed to, and that was actually Acorn Village too. It was sent around. I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what Meg had said. You know, I don't think people are against the Beafors putting stuff in. They've done a nice job with a lot of areas. You know, they've done well. I just don't think the infrastructure is there. It's obvious it's not there. They might be fixing up their area. They might be putting a sidewalk in their area, but there's not infrastructure down the road. You know, McCall is terrible. I drive it every day to go to work. It's narrow. You have parking for the people that are in the city. You know, people walk that. They're students walking it. Obviously, like Meg said, game day, it's terrible. Somebody's going to get hurt. I've said this in meetings in front of the commission before when the development was going on behind Shorty's, which I'll get to that in a minute, but there's going to be somebody really hurt bad. And you know, we have kids that are standing on roads to catch buses. Now, granted, they'll put a sidewalk in, but there's not sidewalks anywhere else. Park Hills, I see kids every morning standing, you know, basically on the road. We're going to add more traffic to an area that's already bad. Amherst usually gets all the traffic because it's a shortcut from over the stadium area down to Shorty's, you know, and, you know, people going up to the town center. So tons of traffic goes that road. And we're the only road that doesn't have speed bumps, so probably that's why they use our road. Like it was said from the lady that was talking from Tanglewood, we maintain our roads. We get no help from the county. We pave our roads, we seal our roads, we deal with the stormwater. You know, we clean our ditches, we clean everything out. We do it. We take pride in our area, all three areas, Acorn, Tanglewood, and Park Hills. A lot of pride there. And, you know, I think the area just can be used better at an R2. I mean, you put you know, things like Bernie Bozzio's built, like a Vintner place or something to that extent. I think that you'd have no problem selling those type of houses. You know, it's a great area. It's been a great location to grow up and live in. That's why I bought there. I bought a second house to fix it up, you know, and you know, possibly downside because I'm not getting any younger. I want to stay in that area, you know. But with things changing around us, it's getting to the point where it's not safe, and you know, a lot of the things I don't want to get into what Meg said, what I basically agree with. So once again, I don't think the infrastructure's there. If you guys would, you know, it's designed for R2. I mean, it's designated that. I don't think we continue to encroach on R4, single-family homes that have been there. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Solomon?
Good morning. I'm one of the principal owners of CCS Development. I'm really not here for or against. I'm here to protect the interest of our development.
Mr. Solomon, would you state your name?
Stephen Solomon, I thought I did.
Okay.
Steve Solomon, one of the principal owners of CCS Development.
Thank you.
As I said, I'm not here in either way. I'm here to protect the interest of our development. Like everybody else has spoke, we've had significant floodings over the years as the upper side of the watershed above us has been developed by other developers, and I believe the B Force have been the major of those. We've probably got well over $1 million over the years in floods, pool damage, on and on. They've said that they've had several meetings. I've been at one, so my information is very limited as far as the stormwater goes. Just to what they want to develop, and coming through Briar Patch and then down through us. So we're a pretty significant player in this thing. I believe what they're proposing, with the limited amount of knowledge I have at this point, would be significantly an improvement to the area, probably for everybody. Again, they showed a map with some additional watershed coming from the other side, that's the first I've seen it. So I'm assuming that they're trying to take care of all the additional areas from the other side. Again, we have another meeting scheduled on Friday. So I do believe that what they're proposing at this point will help the stormwater significantly, but there's still a lot of work to be done, engineering to be done on it, sizing and whatnot, hydraulics, I think. So, you know, we want to continue to work with this because I think it'll help everybody. But there's a lot of work and a lot of discussions to be done. Of the September 12th, 2024 resolution here, PO 3-24, the only talk about stormwater was on page 3E, and specifically only referenced Briar Patch, did not reference CCS Development Chateau Royale. So I want to ensure that this can't proceed without, again, Chateau Royale CCS Development approving rights-of-ways and accesses through our property. So I think there's quite a bit more work and discussions to have at this point. But I do want to say that, you know, we are interested in working with this developer to make this happen. But there's quite a bit of more discussions and details on this stormwater that need to be worked out. So I just want to make sure that CCS was on record. our stance on this at this point, until we get closer to having a viable agreement with us, with the BA4s and MUB. I just want to be on record, because again, I don't feel that we were properly represented in the original planning commission's resolution here. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Travis Rowan. I am a co-owner of Shorty Anderson's Auto Service. This will probably not directly affect me, but I'm here in support of my neighbors, friends, customers. Heard some of the concerns, like about the water runoff and stuff. I feel they should be very concerned, because from personal experience, MUB and the Planning Commission will approve things knowing that downstream will not handle it. And it causes problems for the little guy. So the infrastructure isn't there. There is a lot of traffic in that area. It is very congested, although I'm not against or for, just saying that these are things that should definitely be considered. And to the one woman, who you go to when there is a problem afterwards, there's nobody. There's nobody. You're just stuck with the problem. So, I mean, that's all I have to say. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none further. Petitioner's rebuttal. Mr. Coben, would you like to come up and address any of the concerns that were brought up specifically?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, with regards to the R2, R4 designation, just understand that the reason that the soft-site stormwater can be done is because of the development that's being proposed. If that's R2, those stormwater improvements don't happen, period. Financially, the money won't be there for it. Part of this is funded through the Build West Virginia program, which is effectively a tax rebate program based on property tax, and then also sales tax on materials. And under an R2 with 8 residential houses, it's not there. The funding's not there to pay for it. So just wanted to clarify that. And second, and I apologize to Mr. Solomon if I haven't been clear on everything. You know, we're meeting again on Friday to clarify things. He has provided some comments about his concern over pipe sizing and making sure that we have specific inlets picked up and tied into this new system to help alleviate their specific areas of flooding, so that those issues will be resolved. And to clarify, I think what he was referring to at Briar Patch was a trench grate that was that we had agreed to install in this location. Actually, it's not Briar Patch, but Oak Court right here, which is part of the concern in speaking with the folks at Acorn Village and how they get flooded, to make sure we get that trench drain installed, to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. But there were several items, contingency items on the DSI approval, one of which is that a maintenance agreement is in place, signed with the Morgantown Utility Board for long-term maintenance of the storm system. So until many items are completed, obviously the DSI can't be 100% approved. So any other questions?
The next thing we would do is there anybody that spoke against, is any rebuttal against what Mr. Coben's saying?
Yes,
Sure.
Come on
I
up.
don't understand how.
You might want to come over here.
Probably have to come back
Nope.
up to the podium, sorry.
That's all right. The people watching this can't
Oh, okay.
hear you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I don't understand how doing the right thing with water, that it would be hostage. to doing the right thing with R2. That is the absolute right thing to do. It blends. It has the blending possibilities of easing the R1 kind of homes into R2. It answers the real question and the real reason the Planning Commission wants density is to provide lower cost homes for individuals. That solves that problem, and then it eases its way into the one side of the apartments. And I know that the B4s have beautiful, it would be beautiful, but I just don't think it would fit even architecturally into how that's working. And stormwater runoff should not be hostage for homes just to a big complex. When there's already a sea of R4 behind it's a sea, and some of it wasn't put in correctly. Maybe there should be more help for the people that didn't put in their things that are for correctly to help that. But
And I just want to clarify, any question you have in regards to his information that he just provided, and I believe you're asking him why a R2 couldn't qualify. I believe he said it wouldn't be enough houses to go to qualify for WB build. Again, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but you're questioning why, correct?
well, yes, I'm saying, why can't you fix water? Isn't there water runoff fees? I mean, why, isn't there ways to do it? It may not be this money, but it could be another money.
Okay.
I mean, it's the right thing to do. I don't think it should hold up a decision to keep it R2 when that is the right thing to do.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Can I rebuttal that?
Sure.
Also? To say that this won't be taken care of unless it turns to an R4, to me, that's ridiculous. We pay stormwater runoff on every bill from MUB. There has to be a ton of money coming in. It's $7, $8 every time you pay it. Where's the money going? You can't, if you're telling me R2's not going to work, then that property is worthless then. So if anybody, MUB has to approve anything that goes in there, whether it's R4 or whether it's R2. That's right. If they say that they can't handle an R2 and nobody's going to take care of it, they're not going to approve it. Okay? So that's irrelevant what the engineer said. I mean, it's irrelevant. MUB approves everything stormwater-wise, so they need to make sure that it's getting taken care of.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wait, please. And again, I really want it to be questions, not statements, so thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to comment on Scott's, the engineers, that, any development on that property is going to increase stormwater runoff. So any development is going to increase that. And speaking from CZS development standpoint, we're going to have an issue with any additional runoff, stormwater runoff that's going to take place on that development. I'm not going to comment whether R2, R3, or R4 is proper on that, but I am happy to see and hear that there's money available for a larger development, larger project to correct all this water runoff. It's a huge issue there, and something's got to be done. And the cost of this property, I understand the B4's position that you're paying a lot of money for something. You got to impact as much as you can to make the numbers work. So, but something needs to be done in that area for stormwater runoff. It is bad. And like I said, if there's no money for R2 and this R4 resolves it, I don't know where to go. I'm not all totally for it, but if it helps stormwater runoff, especially for the individual homeowners there, there's got to be a way to figure this out.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But again, as long as the stormwater runoff, because that's the issue, this whole thing.
Thank you. All right, any other rebuttals? Okay, I will now open it for questions from commissioners regarding to any of the petitioners, the staff, or anybody else that's here to represent either side of this.
Okay.
Sir, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm now asking for questions from commissioners.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Copen.
Scott, if you don't mind, I've got a question for you. My understanding is you've gotten a stormwater retention plan put together that you've shown to us. It's been developed by the developer, the Planning Commission, and through MUB. Was that also run through the DEP? Is there a stormwater retention permit that's been applied for or approved by the state?
So the DEP requires submission of a NPDES permit for a 1 to 3 acre site. That has been submitted to DEP. What they're concerned about is erosion and sediment control is what they're primarily looking for, and the regulations require that you discharge in a non-erosive manner.
Okay, so basically you can't
post-construction stormwater.
You can't expel more water from the property post-construction than you did than was being expelled from it
That's
prior.
generally how it's looked at. Technically, no, that's not
Okay.
correct. It's that you can't discharge in an erosive manner.
Okay.
Is
Now,
what the regulations say.
does the plan contain any subterranean retention, or is it simply a roll to the basins and then discharged off into the pipes in the system?
So with this plan, there's no on-site detention proposed. We looked at two alternatives. One was to provide the on-site retention and actually combine our proposed system with an adjacent property owned by the BF4s at Ashley Oaks, which has a pump, and it pumps water up to McCullough Street and back out. And that system would not actually discharge any water into the downstream properties. It would actually, the water would be collected and pumped back up to McCullough Street. It honestly does nothing to solve the existing issues out there. And that's where we got into talking with MUB when things came up during our public meetings. And we got to talking with MUB and said, hey, how about we come up with a plan where we can help fix some of these downstream issues, which would be Acorn Village and CZS down towards Willowdale. Since we're in here doing this work, and that's where part of the funding for this comes from, is the cost to install that underground retention is actually being used to install downstream piping to fix flooding. So in what we have proposed, no, there is no on-site retention, and there's the regulations in MUB, the way MUB handles things with their MS4 permit allow for this type of agreement to take place, because we're fixing a bigger problem.
Okay, I have two questions while you have this chart up here. These red lines, are these improvements that are going to occur as a result of this project?
Yeah, those are proposed storm lines.
Okay, so those are all improvements, and show me where your property is.
So our property, this area right here.
I can't see.
I can't see your
You
cursor.
walk up and show
Yeah.
it. That'd be a
Yeah.
lot easier. Thank you.
So this area.
Oops.
Is that the touchscreen?
Sorry.
You should have brought my kids.
I know.
Don't do that again. There's little fuzzy things there.
So, in quick follow-up to
Probably right click.
Commissioner Sikura's question, so the red lines were new piping that's not currently in place. It's not replacing existing piping, it's going to be new?
Yeah, so this area here is the project.
Okay.
All right.
All of this from here
This is
down is the off-site storm improvements. Total, it's about, total of all the improvements up to the property line are about 1,050 feet of off-site storm improvements.
Okay. And then when you go back to the other chart, the one that had the red arrows and the green arrows, what's
That's
the
a previous.
coloring of the arrows represent?
So the blue arrows.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Yeah, the blue arrows represent the upstream drainage area from the bottom end of our property.
Okay.
Okay, that's about 35 acres total.
Okay.
And of that, 2 acres is from the property itself, which is about 7% of the drainage. The green arrows show what we had originally proposed was that we were going to capture all the on-site water, put it into the pump at Acorn Village and take 7% of the drainage area out of the drainage that goes down through CZS.
Okay.
Is what was initially done. But even if we took every drop of that out, it won't fix the flooding problems that exist in Acorn Village and CZS.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how we got to, well, how can we provide a solution that helps the adjacent properties, and, you know, facilitate the development.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Dave Beafor, a developer with my son and my nephew, Ricky, Alex, Joseph. Scott's done a tremendous job, and I want to add a little bit to it. When I came to Scott to design this project, if we could move forward, I did not want to ask anybody for anything because I know how it gets in developing. We've developed a lot in this town, to some people's maybe liking or not. But the important thing, I didn't want to bother any of my friends, neighbors, or anybody, as was when we bought Valley View. It was an existing property that we added to. We took the entire 2 acres and put underground detention and ponds to take care of everything that was even pre-us, built in the 1980s. And then we finished that project, or did our project after that, in the 90s. We also did Stonewood, underground pipes and a pond. We put less water off here than before. So when Scott was designing this, we did Ashley Oaks, couldn't get it right away at the time, put the tanks in the ground. We know how to develop. It does show in the taxes and how we finish things. I said, Scott, I do not want to go this route. Oh, let me talk to MUB. I said, no, you know how it gets with MUB. Everybody wants to fight. But we've been getting along with MUB. They're reasonable. In fact, this is he didn't want to talk numbers, but I like to talk numbers. This is over $250,000. This project's very important for the town. The value, the rentals of the upscale. You can't put 8 houses here, number one. This property would sit there, and this project wouldn't get completed without some kind of grants or funding. Well, the grant is us. I could spend $75,000 and be done and not mess around. MUB's stepping up. MUB is more than cooperative, putting in 75 or 80 or whatever they're going to put in. We're working that out. Scott is the one handling it, and we're going to put the rest in. So it's basically a 1/3 or maybe, 30-40% one way, and we'll pay the balance. I'd rather just pay the 75 and put the pump in and be done. It's worked for 24 years at Ashley Oaks. Not a problem. And a lot less money. But the right thing to do is to spend the money with the Build West Virginia, with the tax credit. We have another project nearby here. We are improving things. I just want it to be known. It's not all, the bad developer, or I don't want it in my backyard, the NIMBY. I wasn't going to say anything, but you hear all this stuff. It needs to be known. We're sticking our neck out. The boys are signing notes for multi-million dollars to build a quality property to pay property tax and to give something. This is less traffic on the roads around. If there's 30 people there, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that's 60 cars. That's going to keep a lot of people off the roads around. They could walk to work because we're targeting a certain customer. This is what the plan was. And furthermore, nobody understands zoning better than me. I've been through 50 some of them in the city of Morgantown. And we're back with Richwood, as you very well know. That the reason this was zoned R2 is because it was a non-conforming when it was brought in. Now, as you all know, I don't like zoning. I don't like it at all. I like planning. Planning is what we deal with in Harrison County and elsewhere we go, Berkeley County. But if this is the zone, it was brought to me and said, you ought to do this deal. And I said, let me look at it. I could have got 60 townhouses on here, standing them straight up and down, 16 feet wide. We put 30 beautiful townhomes there. That's the project. We appreciate the cooperation with the Planning Commission. Andrew and I have been through, I've learned a lot with him. He's great. He really is. Don't like some of the way he does things all the time, but he's good. He's good for the county. I speak out, okay? Scott and I can get into it being my engineer, and MUB the same way, but everybody's been, the neighbors have been cooperative. And I understand the people in the other neighborhoods nearby.
But we're fixing a huge problem here. If we don't want to go that route, we'll put the tank in and save the money. But I do appreciate everything.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
One of the residents, I believe Ms. Baker, had mentioned, she's a Tanglewood resident, and she talked about Valley Woods Apartments that was addressed or built or whatever above that. Were you the developer?
That is correct. The sewer line people digging up the sewer line caused the problem. It was the development, but not the development, as in the MUB sewer line, the terracotta line that they didn't know where it was, hit the line, left it open. It's still there. They replaced all of it, the old terracotta from back in the late 50s, early 60s probably, and water filled it up on a storm and blew toilets and everything out in 3 or 4 houses and caused major damage.
Was that the big storm we had a couple years ago?
No, this was back in, I'd say 2000 maybe?
Yeah.
2001. But as our developments, we've never had a problem. Anywhere we go, we follow all the rules. I've always had engineers. Scott's been, the last 10, 12 years. But we're there, and again, Zip, Cliff, and Stevie that have CVS are friends of ours. There's no way I'm going to flood them out. As the other 2 developments, we went to them before and said, look, here's our water system. I don't need to be in any lawsuits. I pay lawyers enough to do everything else. But I want to be known, and we've helped other people out. I give my right-of-ways away. We helped them out a couple years ago on the other side of the road. And this is it's not your all's fault, but everybody's going to blame it on, Everybody wants to put the blame on somebody, okay? It's development, it's growth. We need planning, we don't need the zoning, but it's already there in West Run. And that's why we stopped the annexation, because we don't need to be told what to do, but we need guidance, and we need laws, and we need rules. And we have followed every single rule, and we'll complete this properly and make sure our neighbors in Tanglewood, around, or anybody else, CZS, Acorn Village, will be as happy as we can make them. But it is a property rights thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. This one for the MUB, and it's going to be an easy one, okay, I hope. The problem we all agree is there's been flooding in that area. The city, county, and MUB have worked together to put $3 million in Pompano Run. Now, Mr. Beerfor is putting in this proposed additional help. Will these 2 things we are doing help with the potential flooding? Or, help in the sense of reducing the potential flooding. Because this is a prior, now we're putting the money in to fix the problems that were there.
Right.
Okay.
So you remember the events in 21.
Yes.
We did a flood control study with Strain Associates. Phase 2 of that flood control study, we focused Strain Associates on this watershed because of the flooding issues that happened at Oak Court and that continue to happen. So they completed a PER earlier in 2024. We have that available if anybody would like that. I believe that was completed in May of 24. And we were starting down the road of looking for funding.
Mm-hmm.
So when this project was brought to us, we saw it as an opportunity to complete part of this, some of this, all of this, to help with the flooding that the folks in Oak Court and CZS were experiencing.
So the
It fell
answer
right
is-
in line with phase
Okay.
2 of that flood control study.
Exactly. And that was from a study that was done, and we're working to try and resolve some of the issues.
Right. So it's a piece of funding for
Yes.
that,
It's a tool.
If we had an unlimited amount of money,
Yeah.
you could just go in and start fixing these issues, but as we see with Pocono, it is not cheap.
Right.
And $7 a month only amounts to a certain capital budget each year.
Yeah.
It does not fix millions and millions of dollars worth of work that needs to be completed out there. So, yes, this is a piece of the puzzle that will help some folks with flooding in this watershed.
And also for clarification, and Sean also asked that question too, the R4 allows them to do the West Virginia build funding and application for funding so we can resolve not just their issue, but some other issues, and you're using that to build that. So that is one of the reasons why it went to R4.
Well, that wouldn't be a question for Bob, that would be a question
Okay.
Yeah, I would have
for
to
Russ.
Okay,
defer
Russ.
that.
Russ, can you
Okay,
say,
I apologize.
Russ
Okay.
being the resident and expert on
Yes.
WV build, or build WV, whichever way you.
West Virginia Build, is it? Yeah.
Build West Virginia.
Build West Virginia. Okay.
Russ Rogerson, I'm with the Morgantown Area Partnership, and we were a group that partnered with Preston County to get our large part of Mon County designated within the Build West Virginia program. That program is meant to enhance home building of all types in the state of West Virginia. What it does is provide from the state a sales tax payback on sales tax of all the material of a housing development. It also provides a tax credit, state tax credit for that as well. The program, quite frankly, provides those funds to a qualified project that must be $3 million or more, at least 6 units.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the developer does with those funds is up to the developer. In this case, it sounds like they're willing to rechannel those funds towards their solution with the sewage, the storm drain.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up the next, Andrew, I just need a clarification. I know you've been sitting there waiting to get a question. On the material that you sent us, and I really appreciate, first of all, I really like that MUB, the city, the county planning, everyone's working together to try and solve. Mr. Beerfor is trying to resolve a lot of these issues with the conditional use, which is, as you said. I just want a clarification. I'm looking under stormwater, and it says proposed improvements will reduce stormwater from backing up into Tangwood. Is that what we're talking about, if this is done?
That will help in that process. I'm not qualified to actually be the person to answer on
But
this.
that is the way.
But it is, yes, there are drainage, Mr. Copen showed the drainage area. That area cannot currently, with the current capacity that it has, absorb the storm events that we've been having, and so the problem existed before this development was proposed. This is the best effort that, working together with all those entities, we could see maybe this is a chance to fix that.
And also, they are willing to put in sidewalk improvements, which is something that is needed. I don't care where we are. There are no sidewalks.
And, you know, it's always, that gets us, as a planner, we always get attacked. You put a sidewalk to nowhere. But the reality is you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And as a part in Damian Davis with the city, there's a future program with DOH to fix Willowdale. It has not been constrained. I'm not going to go, you all have heard all those things. It is going to be in the future plan. You have to kind of work towards it, because no one developer, it doesn't make sense for 30 units to fix all of Willowdale and McCullough. You can't ask that.
Right.
The courts rule against it. So every opportunity we have, we try to improve it. So to your point, yes, doing the best we can with each piece on the way when we have a chance is usually when we try to seize that opportunity. Does that answer your question?
That does answer it. One final question, that's for Damien, because I'm trying to get this all clarified. The concern was improving the line of vision, and you're changing.
At
and
Willowdale.
Well, could you explain a little bit, because I'm real interested in that, because it is a horrible at this time, and you have tried to decide to do that, and you're also putting in a stop sign. So if you could explain those two things. Yeah.
So this development won't deal with the Willowdale intersection of McCullough. That I think is what the lady was talking about. It is a intersection. There's a hillside there that banks back that makes it difficult to see back in. That's not going to be addressed by the development at all. The development is going to be looking at the intersection of McCullough and Hoffman. Not signalized, but putting stop controls at that intersection. Currently, I think there's a stop sign at the Tanglewood development, and McCullough and Hoffman flow through. But this would stop that to allow that to be a four-way stop, to allow entering and exiting of that area, the development area, better.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Damon, you might as well stay there. This is a question really directed between you and Andrew. What steps did the Planning Commission take to explore this issue, explore traffic, explore how the traffic would be increased in the area?
So originally, Andrew reached out to the city about this development. We looked at it, my office and the planning department within the city. We asked the developer to give us a traffic impact study of what proposed these 90 beds, 30 apartments would do to what traffic they would generate. Looking at the traffic generation model, it didn't pose a significant increase to the traffic at the peak hours, not to the level that would need further, widening or things like that, further mitigation. So, as far as the city goes, we're not taking a stance of whether for or against the change of the zoning, but we are saying we will approve the entrance if it is approved, if all permits and everything, building permits are applied for through the city of the parts that are in the city.
Okay. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
Just to say a couple quick things on it. One is that we are the guilty party, the Planning Commission, by ensuring that they had 2 entrances and exits as opposed to 1, because that's safer for emergency access, etc. They could have done a one-way in and one-way out, but that is not recommended practice. This will allow for more choices. The traffic will be less likely to get backed up. And in the case of an emergency situation, there is more than one way in and out. So that was one of the traffic considerations that is in the county that it does not impact them. We then turned over, though, since McCullough is the principal access, and that's where most people are going to be coming in and out, that was something we turned over to the city to analyze. From county roads, when DOH looks at analysis, they have to follow the warrants. And similarly, the city and the county follow the warrants. We can't just take somebody's opinion. We have to follow the rules just like everybody else. And that was the report that Mr. Davis elicited from. And so as a result, the Planning Commission defers to that analysis from the city's road, because that's the road that's impacted to a significant extent.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Can you show me the slide that shows the new road? And I just want to make sure I understand where the road will be added.
Oh, don't go nowhere. He's wanting to talk to you.
There's a bigger slide where it just shows the property and then the inch.
That one? No, there was another one.
Yeah, there was another one. There was just one in the middle of the screen.
Well, while you're there, the stop sign would go
over there.
How dare I? What
There.
There.
Okay, so where's the current entrance? And then what are you adding?
Currently, there's a house here and has a driveway off of over here. On outside city limits onto Dartmouth. City limits run with McCullough, or with Hoffman and McCullough. And so the new development is tying it down here on Dartmouth and onto Hoffman. Okay. This would be tying into city streets.
That ties into McCullough?
Yeah.
Is that right at the point of McCullough, Dartmouth, Citadel, and Hoffman?
That's right. It's right here. Is the
so
intersection.
It's more off on McCullough, the one entrance, and the other entrance should be on.
It offsets that intersection, 30 to 50 feet. I don't know what that is.
The other entrance is on Dartmouth, between Briar Patch and McCullough.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's up here.
Sean, you can see it here.
And they did it to ensure that there is a good crossing there, because that's the safest, so they're not off-center.
Okay.
One thing that needs to be noted, McCullough Street, property line goes to the center. So we actually own to the center of McCullough Street, and the road going in here is actually a right-of-way that was carved out of this property. As an attorney, you know I'm the title on that. So it was already, the right-of-ways were already there.
Okay.
It is property line, yeah, may go to the center line of McCullough Street, but it's still a city street.
Right.
With the city, all city building permits would have to be applied for and approved for that.
Okay.
And Mr. Heckler, in regards to the improvements that are going to be done to the stormwater, would you say that will definitely be an improvement to the properties below?
Yeah, according to the engineering report, it's one option for improvement for the area.
Okay.
So.
All right.
No, that's fine. I appreciate
I just
answering
have
my
a
questions.
couple more, and I promise I'll keep them brief. In regards to the bus shelter, I understand that was brought up as an insurance issue. Is that an insurance issue? Why is that an insurance issue?
It's an insurance and a liability issue. They did explore it in good faith. They worked with the Monongalia County school system about what was available to them in terms of could the county schools take on because it's only a school bus stop. It's not a mountain line stop, for instance. And in no way could they guarantee that the liability, they had expressed a willingness to put in the shelter, lighted, and all those things, but that incurs a liability that they didn't want to take, and their insurance wouldn't put up with it. But I don't want to answer that on their behalf, but we were working hand in glove as much as we could to try to see what could be done for those kids that wait for the shelter there. And I think that they demonstrated to the Planning Commission's satisfaction that they tried everything they could.
Okay, but it was explored with the Board of Education
Yes.
in regards to if a shelter was put in there, they would take ownership, and they rejected that offer?
They could not either. I would love to be able to see that in the future, but currently the way situations are.
Yeah, I mean, that just kind of, we're going to be talking to Mountain Line in a little while, and I was just curious why. I see bus stops all over town, and why that would be something that wouldn't be a good thing, and that liability could be mitigated. But
Yeah, if we do, I'll help any way I can. I think it's a great idea, but that's beyond my. That's my.
Okay. Again, I promise just a couple other questions. I did want to note, one of the emails we received were basically to be described in terms of fact-finding, though I did receive one from a citizen that didn't speak in this meeting, but I did want to make sure that she spoke. In opposition of the development, and that was Miss Nancy Eisentrout, and I believe she's here.
Sean, a little louder.
I'm sorry, and I believe she's here, but I just want to point that out for the record, that we did have someone, and it was pretty much the same tenor as most of the other people. As long as we hold them accountable, it's going to help. And I did go visit Ms. Eisentrout's property just to understand and put my eyes on what we were actually talking about. But I did want to mention that she had relayed that, so for the record. So having said that, a number of the people that came up wanted to really understand how, again, and we have these great concessions, and again, I'm not, those aren't my words, I'm putting forward what the Planning Commission is telling us, what you all are telling us. It sounds like we really have an opportunity for the developers to work with the city, to work with the neighborhoods. But the question that kept coming up was, how would they be held accountable? And Andrew, I'd like you to address that.
The accountability, if you look at the nature of the conditions in the DSI, all that infrastructure has to be in place and in satisfaction for them to get the ability to build the buildings. If without the buildings, they cannot meet the terms of the Build West Virginia grant, and so as a result, everything comes undone. There's no map amendment, there's no development approved. Apart from that, how to ensure that one of the conditions, and this was in the proposal, and I probably should lean on the applicant and Mr. Hacker to attest to it, that once this infrastructure for the stormwater, which is the big ticket item, is in place, then the maintenance of that devolves on MUB to ensure that it is maintained. City roads are always, that is a city road, and that stays the same. I believe the roadway in that is not their principal access, but as the owner of half of that road, they are responsible for maintaining that half of the road that is in their possession, quite apart from it. But perhaps there is, as one of those conditions, that there has to be some sort of agreement for how maintenance will be handled on that property before, because I'm not answering that, there just has to be some sort of satisfactory arrangement for.
The DSI was approved by the Planning Commission.
Yes.
And conditionally.
Condition.
And what's before the commission is to approve the map amendment conditionally.
Conditionally.
On all those items in the DSI being addressed. If any of those items aren't addressed, what happens?
Then they cannot build the houses. They do not get the permit to build the houses.
Okay.
So they can come back and amend the plan, which is the usual route. Usually it's something didn't work out, and then they would ask for that. They could reapply with another plan, or they could just pull, but then the map does not get changed.
Okay. And again, I bear everybody, but I want to make sure that we raised all the issues that are in this meeting. There was let me finish first. To these conditional approvals that we were talking about, I want to specifically make sure that everybody understood what these conditional approvals were that were in the Planning Commission's resolution that's also being put in front of the Commission to approve. And those items are subject that the preceding findings of fact and conclusions of law support its decision to approve the request by Metro Property Management, LLC, to develop the site with 8 structures of 3 stories with 33-bed units as a development of significant impact at the property legally described as Morgantown Map 4E, Parcel 26.1, subject to the following conditions. A, approval of development of significant impact, DSI 002-2024, is directly tied to the coincide map amendment, MA 001-2024. Should map amendment MA 001-2024 not be approved, DSI 002-2024 shall be null and void. B, any proposed or required conditions and timetables resulting from the review of the bodies and organizations shall be met accordingly. C, prior to issues of a certificate of compliance, the applicant shall submit documentation from the state fire marshal indicating approval of the site plan and floor plan in regards to fire protection. D, prior to issuance of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit documentation of an agreement regarding installation of a stormwater plan, including documentation from pertinent property owners for access across their properties during construction phase. B, documentation from MUB regarding review of installation of said stormwater plan and agreement to take over said stormwater system upon completion. E, prior to issuance of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit documentation of an agreement regarding maintenance of briar patch, including installation of a trench gate hooked into the stormwater system. Great location, TBD. F, prior to issuance of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit documentation of sediment and erosion control permit approval from the West Virginia Department of Soil Protection, of Environmental Protection. And hold on, I need to open up the other document. I apologize, it's not. G, prior to issuing of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit documentation of road access permit approval from the city of Morgantown. H, prior to issuance of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit documentation of a finalized construction and staging plan to ensure neighborhood roads won't be encroached upon. I, prior to issuance of certificate of compliance, the applicant shall ensure that all McCulloch Street improvements have been completed.
J, prior to issuance of the certificate of compliance, the applicant shall submit documentation and all pertinent stormwater improvements have been completed to MUB satisfaction. Now, I wanted to take the time to read those. Just those are the items that we keep when we talk about these conditions. Those were the conditions that were in the DSI that was approved by the Planning Commission, and those are the conditions that are in front of this commission for approval. So, having said that, do we have any other questions?
No.
Ma'am?
Can we get 2 follow-ups, because I wanted to ask questions of the
No.
city person and Mr. Hacker.
If we keep it short.
The only thing that I don't recall anybody studying the impact of traffic on Citadel, Bates, Kingston, and Amherst, which is Park Hills. I don't know of anything that they've done to study that, and we are all very concerned about the added traffic. Those roads we take care of ourselves too, like Tanglewood, and we don't even have HOA. This is a voluntary coming together. It's the best of communities that work for each other, and we put a lot of sweat and personal work into making sure our roads are kept nice, and an additional impact could be devastating for us. And there's been nobody mentioning help there. Everybody's concerned about the others, but we're right there. They're going to be coming. And also, if it's approved, who's going to assure that our roads are safe and not destroyed by all the construction? I mean, it said one of the things was to look at the neighborhood roads, and I don't know that that has been looked at. At least it hasn't been mentioned here, and I haven't heard of it. Maybe they did it, but I don't know. But I think that's a huge concern.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, can you address that? Go ahead, Andrew. Andy, let Andrew, the planner. Sorry, wrong Andy.
My mom was
Yeah, I'm usually in trouble at that point,
Yes,
right? That's right.
That's good.
Yeah. The nature of the way we have to review these things is on the percent increase of those roads. We require the same and did a similar analysis to what the city came to the same conclusion, that based on the state mandated warrant procedures, that the additional traffic generated by this development did not exceed the point that they had to do something for a network of roads. And typically in that order of magnitude, and I'm speaking perhaps a little out of turn because I am not representing my engineering hat at this point, I'm a planner, it's usually more damage is done by just wear and tear from the weather than is done by that amount of traffic at that point. There's always got to be rules as to when they have to expand the roads, etc., and they certainly didn't meet that warrant in this case. We have to follow the rules just like everybody else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Lawrence, one last question.
Pertaining to the traffic study, like I said, I drive that road every day. I'm not sure how the city did their study, or the planning commission, whether they just stood somebody out there for a day or two and said, oh yeah, this is what we got, somebody count. There was nothing ever on the road counting cars, how many go through there. The dangers that we see every day. Our neighborhood sees this every day. And it's great that they're going to put sidewalks in. It's great that they're going to do that. Like I said, David's done a lot of good stuff, and Rick, but the infrastructure's not there. So that's my question to the city person, Mr. Hacker. So if there's a problem with the drainage right now, why aren't you just fixing it as is? Why is this problem letting those people get flooded out constantly? One way or the other, it needs fixed. So to me, the BF4 shouldn't have to put money into it. Our tax dollars shouldn't have to put money on it. We pay to have this. Don't hold the R4 hostage just because you're going to get grant money. That's our tax dollars. It's our tax dollars being used. One way or the other, whatever goes on that property, MUB has to make sure that the runoff is good. I mean, that's their job. And the reason why I'm saying this is because everything was approved up above Shorty Anderson's, and we see what happened. I mean, everything was approved by the West Virginia DEP. Everything was approved by MUB. And those guys, They left, they probably had to go back to work. But I've watched them shovel mud out of their business. They want to add on to their business. They can't because there's problems. They want MUB wants right away through it. That's not right. So to me, even though, yes, it sounds really good, the Planning Commission says, oh yeah, West Virginia DEP, MUB approved it. It's not a guarantee. You should be fixing the problem now for women, people that are living in Acorn Village. You shouldn't just say, okay, it's because of we're going to give this R4, it's going to get fixed. It needs to get fixed now.
Thank you. All right, I do have one last question. Russ, there's been a little bit of talk about the Build WV program, and the requirements on that program is 6 houses or $3 million, correct?
Right.
Okay, so is the when that argument about R4 versus R2 is presented, is there any, what's the threshold to go to R4?
Strictly from the build program, it's based on the dollar amount invested. So the 6% sales tax would be on the amount of purchased material, and the tax credits on the amount of spend, and obviously tax credits are much more complicated. So from the build West Virginia perspective, it's more about the investment amount in terms of that, what is incentivized back to the developer builder.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Did you need to say something?
Just to supplement, the amount of houses that can go in on R2 is twice what was estimated because ADUs are allowed by right. So that allows for 2 lots. So the difference is between roughly 20 and 30 units.
And that's it.
That's the only difference that we're really seeing that we can guarantee. The 20 units in R2 have no oversight, no mandates. Those are by right. They can continue to add water to the watershed, and there's no engineering solution associated with that whatsoever. That's why getting them to come forward in this process allows the negotiation to go forward with engineering solutions to solve the other problem. I have no issue with neighbors wanting, the best for themselves, and I totally agree with that, but the only way to fix the existing problem that they have, and they have a number of them, is through cooperative work with development, because the Planning Commission does not have any budget themselves to fix anything.
Okay, thank you. Really quick.
I'd like to make one thing important too, and Andy, I went to school with Andy, we're friends, and this isn't a trade-off. This wasn't give me this zone and I'll give you the water. Again, we can put Plan B, put the tank in and pump it, 75,000. This was just a cooperative effort that my son and my nephews and my brother and I decided that we thought was the best thing. So I don't want anybody to think that you all or the Planning Commission is making a deal and trading something off. The highest and best use for this land is exactly what it's being proposed to the new zoning. The rights were taken away when the West Run Planning District came in. And how would any families in here like to have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 acres? And all of a sudden they told them you can only do X on it. I've been in front of the Planning Commission a couple of times. We had land on 705 across from the town center. They zoned it single family right on 705. We had land where Ricky and Alex just finished 45 townhomes, and they've sold 43 of them for $295,000. That was zoned single family, 3 acres. I mean, so the point is, it's the highest and best use. And again, to reiterate, that was a non-conforming house on that land. And I know how the zoning went down when they did the West Run planning. That's why they did it to the zone that it was. If that house wouldn't have been there and it had been just raw land, it would have been zoned multifamily, the density. But there is no trade-off. There was no deals made. The deal was involving there was 2 deals made with MUB being cooperative because Scott went to them, and the city, let's put some stop signs. We're out of the city limits, so but we wanted to be cooperative, and we worked with MUB and working with the neighbors. If it's not possible to protect their problem or save their problem or help their problem if CZS doesn't cooperate. Then we put the tank in and we move on. And then we save money. But this solves everybody's problems, and I think it's a great thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's no deals, no special deals.
All right, one more, come on. I apologize, but the public hearing is the opportunity to get everybody's opinion in the record, so.
I have actual questions about the traffic study. First of all, many of us from Tanglewood and Acorn Village, and I'm assuming Park Hills, have called the city offices with questions and input about the traffic issues on McCullough, Willowdale, and Hoffman. Never got any returns calls over months of time. So my first question is, why not return the calls? Number two, is it just numbers they're looking at, or are they looking at actual issues like McCullough ices over in the winter if more than 1 or 2 cars are stacked there, and the potential pool of occupants for this house are going to be hospital employees? We all go to work at the same time. We're all lined up there. So we're going to have an icing issue there. The stop sign on Hoffman, how was that decision made? Again, it's a hill that people come up that no one clears until the end of the snow event, and people are always sliding backwards down it. How does the stop sign at the top of that not cause an additional problem? Thank you.
Thank you. Damon, you want to speak to that?
So the traffic study itself, we didn't look at, it wasn't the city who performed it. It was the developer's engineer who did that. We did not look at, I did not ask him to look at any of the streets outside of the city limits. I have no purview over any of those. So I only had them look at what is the increased volume from this development on those city streets, Hoffman and McCullough. The increased volume at the peak hour was not a significant number to warrant anything else. As far as the icing issues, the city, we maintain our roads in the wintertime. Hills are our priority. Hills and curves and main roads are our priority. So typically we don't make decisions based on an icing issue that may happen 10 times a year versus 350 days a year. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if you guys don't have anything else, go ahead and close this public hearing. Basically, we're closing the public hearing as we may be addressing any of the actions if applicable under new business. Next item on the agenda is grants. Colleen Kuhn, Office Manager. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm sorry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, yes it is.
First up, I have a request for reimbursement for the Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $1,683.04. And then the next one, I have the grant application for the Saukey Purpose Area 3 grant in the amount of $177,922.
Move to approve the president signing the grant documents as has been presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, correspondence. We have an update received from Alex Hall, Litter Control Officer, regarding property described as District 3, Map 16C, Parcel 7.
He wanted to let you know that the property is in compliance now with the ordinance, and they're being taken off of the list
Great.
of properties.
All right, thank you. We also received a quarterly progress report from Comcast regarding the county broadband project. It speaks for itself. Basically, the report indicates that the walkout was completed over 178 miles for the 2,175 unserved locations that this project expects to make connectivity available to. They've also, in that walkout, they do measurements and other data obtained during the walkout, and they provide that to the design engineers. So now they're in their full design phase.
That design will dictate whether construction will be aerial or underground and determine permitting requirements. So they're going to be reporting quarterly as we go forward, but we should be starting to see more shovels in the ground, more progress. Do we have any other correspondence?
Yeah, we got one other email from Micah Waglinski about some work being done on Tyrone Avery Road by MUB. He did follow up. I guess there was some patching. They had actually cut into the road, and there was some patching done. But he did report back that they came back and put some more asphalt in the spot. So,
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other correspondence? Okay, Commissioner Arnett?
No, sir.
Commissioner Coyle?
No,
Okay.
that's the one I had.
All right. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, consideration of the request to amend West Run Planning District zoning map designation from neighborhood density residential R2 to high density residential R4 of the property legally described as Morgan Tax District map 4E parcel 26.1. What's the will of the commission?
I would move to approve the amendment as presented in changing designation of tax map 4E parcel 26.1 from R2 to R4.
I'll second.
Okay. And any discussion?
A few points. I think with all the discussion that's been brought forth, it's very important to note the cooperation and the willingness to help that's been presented by all the parties involved as far as the development, as far as MUB, the developer, and the city of Morgantown. We've got several issues. We have a housing shortage, we have drainage problems, we have flooding issues, and this seemingly addresses, at least attempts to address those issues with this project. Not completely addressing housing shortage, but certainly we'll be adding 30 new homes to the area. The drainage and the flooding, while I don't believe this project is a tit for tat, it is going to help the area. I think it behooves us to accept the help that's being offered here and to move this project forward. We have projects we have funding for that continue to sit year after year after year. Exit 155, a prime example. It just takes a long time to get these things going, despite the best intention of all the parties. This is a project that's going to be addressed and will be addressed quickly, and hopefully, based on engineering, which I know nothing about, will address and help this flooding issue that sorely needs done in this area. And on the converse side, something that our developer, not our developer, I'm sorry, our planner, Andrew Gasbray, pointed out, that this property could be developed as a 20-unit complex without any improvement, without any approval from the Planning Commission, without approval from any other entity other than your standard, if you disturb more than 1 acre in West Virginia, you're required to have a West Virginia DEP permit that would handle stormwater runoff. The fact that for an additional 10 units, this area is being looked at so carefully and so much consideration is being given to the neighboring property owners as well as the overriding drainage issues, I think it's a win-win for the area, and I think it's a win-win for this county to increase the development over there. So that's my reasoning for making the motion to approve.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, when I first heard about the project, I received numerous phone calls, and I was very concerned about the project. But what we heard tonight and what we've seen is that you have a cooperation between MAP, the city, the county, Planning Commission, MUB, and Mr. Beerfor. And I think it is clear that as long as the conditional uses are followed, which is what we will be monitoring, I don't see on what basis to object to it. It meets all the criteria. And my bigger concern was what happened, just what you mentioned. That was something I did not know, that he could build 20 buildings without any of this. And I think with Pompano Run and with this additional stormwater program, I think it is the best for that community, and that's why I will support it.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I do want to point out, though, Commissioner Arnett's motion didn't mention it, but this is contingent, the resolution does,
Yes.
and we're approving the resolution. So the resolution does mention that it's contingent on DSI 002 2024 being fully addressed.
Which I'll amend the motion to specifically include that language if
Yeah, and I'll second that because I think that needs to be in the motion. Thank
Okay.
you.
So the motion, as I understand it, is to approve the resolution as presented, which provides approval of map amendment MA 001 2024 contingent on DSI 002 2024 being fully addressed.
Yes.
Is that
Correct.
accurate?
accurate.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Mhm.
Okay. The other thing too is, and again, these are, this is why we're here. We're here to represent all the citizens, and sometimes you agree with us and sometimes you don't, but I do want that's why I made sure that everybody spoke in the meeting, because we do want to hear all sides, and we do listen to all sides. I want to thank Ms. Eisentraut for reaching out to our office and just asking to talk to me. And I went and visited her with her, and she was very, very polite and said, hey, if they do what they said they're going to do, this could be a net positive in regards to the flooding. Sometimes you have to take a look at what, I look at those houses that maybe can't get flooding insurance. They're really kind of stuck. So you have to look at, are you going to help them with this issue? Or are you going to worry about the traffic? So we have to worry, and that's a real fear if you have units in that area that can't get insurance. I don't know if I assume that there's some way to get it, but it probably costs an arm and a leg, or you have to go to a sub-insurance or something along that line. So we do look at all issues. We wish that we could make everybody happy, but we not always can. But I do appreciate our citizens being informed and coming in and raising their concerns. I do appreciate the developers working all sides of those issues. They make this actually easier for us, because if they're willing to be part of the solution and nobody they can simply come in and say, hey, we can build 20 houses and we're going to do that. And do it, but they live in these communities too, and I appreciate them coming to the table and wanting to find real solutions as they work forward towards this project. So, other than that, again, this is your government working for you. This is the way it's supposed to be. There's a request. It's fully vetted by our planning commission, and it comes in front of us, and we fully vet it. And again, you may not always agree with our decisions, but we certainly are trying to look out for all issues and try to hold all parties accountable. And we will hold all parties accountable in regards to what has been promised. So, if there's nothing else, did I miss anything in regards to the public meeting? Did we not?
No, the public meeting's fine. I think it would behoove us to get regular updates from the planner as conditions in DSI are met. I think in order for the public to be informed, that maybe he could come and report at your meeting once certain conditions are met, on a monthly basis or whatever you think is appropriate.
And I think that would be absolutely a great idea, and we can report it. They can report it, or they can send it to us, and we provide it as correspondence. But the public needs to know where this project stands as we go forward, just like the report I read on the Comcast project. The public needs to be informed. So we have a first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And Andrew, I would like that, as we have indicated, and we agree with our administrator, that we get regular reports on this. I do have one other issue that I'd like to bring up regarding this, and I didn't think it was proper for the meeting, but one citizen did raise a concern about members of the Planning Commission and whether they had business relations with petitioners. And we talked about that, and I wanted to make sure that again, when they take their oath of office, they are sworn to make sure that they raise any potential OCIs and recuse themselves from these type of decisions. But just so the public understands, and I'd like that to be reaffirmed every once in a while. When you have these projects come up, it wouldn't be a bad idea to reaffirm from your planning commission members that there are no financial issues or no benefit from making a decision one way or the other. Because we have a very close-knit community. We all work together. We run into those things all the time. And we've had projects that have come here, and I don't have a financial interest in, but I knew the petitioner, and I went to the ethics to make sure that I didn't have an OCI, and then I raised it in the meeting with the commissioners and said, well, I know these guys, I've been lifetime friends. I want to make sure that you guys understand that, and I'm disclosing that. So I think that type of transparency would help ease the concerns of citizens sometimes, and I think it was an excellent suggestion, and I really appreciate it. And so if you could maybe kind of, as the way you guys do your meetings when you're dealing with different issues, make sure that you raise those and those are disclosed.
Absolutely. I would reiterate, though, that they have a good history. There have been recusals a couple times over the last year, in fact, based on interests that were really tenuous, but they were very careful to disclose that those are issues. All the more reason to get more people on it, because that made us very close on quorum.
Yeah, and I appreciate the sensitivity to that. Just the public needs to be aware of that, too.
Understood, totally. Thank you.
Right. Moving right along. I noticed Tom said something we talked about this evening.
I know, I apologize.
We started this in morning. Consideration to approve requisition number 94 for the University Town Center Excise Tax District Administrative Expense Fund.
The requisition is for $5,840, and that is for an invoice that was received from Steptoe and Johnson for their work advising the commission and working on the district.
Move to approve requisition 94 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consideration of request by Mountain Line Transit Authority for financial support regarding the Social Service Transportation Aid Pilot Program.
This follows up from the work session that we had, so was it last week or the week before? I can't remember now. Regarding the route to Hazel's House of Hope.
Okay.
And this is a actual request from the commission for $5,000 for the month of November, and then it would continue on a monthly basis as up to $5,000 as needed, as social service agencies are purchasing these bus passes.
Okay. If I have a motion, then we'll go ahead and discuss this further.
Right, I'll move to approve the request by Mountain Lion for the financial support up to $5,000 a month for this program.
Through the end of the fiscal year.
Yep. Yes, to the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Discussion, I know Maria's here. Didn't want you to sit through all that and come here and not get a chance to say anything. If you'd like to explain to the public what this program is about.
I can a little bit, yeah, and thank you. I didn't expect it to be that long, but I wanted to be here in case you all had questions or anything. So Maria Smith, General Manager, Mountain Line Transit. The program that you're looking at, this is to help provide support for social service agencies to allow those who need transportation support to be able to purchase prepaid by the county passes. And so we have another program that's going to help them get to the social service agencies. This provides that cushion for the social service agencies to help get their clients to where they need to go. So whether that be help or wherever. Part of this program that we're working with you all on is that we're going to be able to provide data to you. We're going to take a look at the social service agencies who are purchasing these passes, how many they're purchasing, and then the use of the passes. So we're asking for data there too. But that'll give us a better feel for what the actual need is and be able to put a value to that. And then secondly, some of the data that we're collecting is just going to give us a little bit of information about what we might be able to do going forward. So one of the questions that we're asking is the mobile device of the person riding. And so that might in the future allow us to send a pass to their phone as opposed to like a paper pass, which might be a little more convenient for social service agencies, but that's the avenue we're going. So.
Great.
Okay, and thank you, Maria. I may have a couple of questions, so if you just stay there. And this request is a byproduct of discussions that I've had on behalf of the commission, the city, and Mountain Line regarding the bus line to the social services. This program ended last June. And the city had stepped in and agreed to fund it to keep it going until they figured out what to do with the program going forward. The county is now joining that effort and participating on a monthly basis. We anticipated trying to get enough of a runway so we can really figure out where people are at, but we only do things by fiscal year, so that's why we're talking about doing this to the end of the fiscal year, and then during budget time we'll discuss if we need to do that further, because I think to really get the data that we need, we may need a little bit more of a runway. Moving away from free ridership and towards the past programs will help us define the need going forward, and it will put a value to it and allow us to find a permanent solution, and that's what we're here for. It is my thought process is in regards to this program, once we have a lot more of that data, and say we do this program through the end of the fiscal year, and then we do it for half a year or whatever that runway is, that gives us data to inform decisions as far as where people are going to, and we can then offload that responsibility to these social service agencies that ask us for funding, and just have them really be accountable for that, rather than us just trying to throw darts at a board and track who goes where and manage that program. So Mountain Line's certainly stepping in to Maria, you've done a lot of the data collection so far. You've defined the program, and you've really done a lot of work to get us to where we're at. And I'm interested in seeing where the program takes us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, a couple things. As you know, during the work session, I had a number of questions, and I can say, fortunately or unfortunately, this sheet that you handed out is exceptional because it answers every one of my concerns. So, I mean, there's about 15 or 20 great questions that you have made it very clear on, and this is very convincing to me. There are a couple things I just want to highlight. I think the first one, which was the most important that we hear all the time, is why is Mountain Line receiving levy funding? Why can't we cover the costs? And you made it very clear that the funds were promised for specifically additional service, replacement county funding, and for rolling stock, and that the levy has added 41,500 hours of service to the system annually and increases as the community grows. And if we were to decrease that, you were right, we would be going against the purpose of the levy. And I did not realize that. The other is the cost of this run is roughly, $343,827. But I really appreciate, because I want the public to know, we put in this program together, all the city too, to get individuals to use it to go up to Hazel's House of Hope. And when people say, oh, it's too far out, it's not being used, I want the public to know 168,814 free trips so far, and we only fund it at 55%. So I think you answered all my questions. I want the public to know that it is being used, and I think what your goal is to find out how we can modify it, use it correctly, and then we'll know how much to fund it. So you have my full support. I appreciate this. This was very impressive.
And I know it costs more than that, but what we're doing is MUB is providing these rides, and we're contributing basically 75 cents a ride.
The bus line.
And it
You
costs,
said MUB.
I'm sorry, MUB.
Your look was like
Mountain Line.
I'm thinking
Mountain Line, MUB, yes, okay.
Sorry.
Just wanted to make sure.
Too much. But it costs a lot more. Just doing quick math with the two numbers you had about total cost and then amount of rides, that's about $2.04 per ride.
Yeah.
But I know that number's higher, right, as far as the actual cost per ride?
On average, our entire system, it's $14.44 per ride on, so I can break that down to specific routes, but on the Don Knotts route, it's about $4 per trip. And so the more people you have, the
Right.
balance is, right?
So, I mean, MUB is participating or
Yeah.
subsidizing this ride.
Mountain Lion.
You really had that on your
You
mind.
guys wanna-
It's past,
Yeah.
it's
Again.
past lunchtime, in all fairness.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's been a long meeting, but you are subsidizing this,
Yeah.
and all we're doing is participating and
Mm-hmm.
being part of the solution, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All Mountain Line does.
I just had a couple notes. First off, Tom brought up a point, and just to expand on it a little bit, it's something that you brought up in our work session that I wasn't aware of. It's important. The levy funds are largely going in to keep that rider cost at 75 cents a ride. It's been like that for an awfully long time.
28 years.
That amount of 28 years.
Mhm.
I know the vehicles cost a lot more than they cost 28 years ago. I know it costs a lot more per hour to hire drivers for those routes, and the gas certainly is a lot higher. So it's important to note that rider cost is maintained for that amount of time at a very large cost to Mountain Line. So I just wanted to point that out. The second thing is we have funded hundreds of thousands of dollars for the social service agencies that are not just at Hazel's House of Hope, but elsewhere in the county. And it's essential that the folks that need those services can get there. And the fact that Hazel's House of Hope doesn't sit in the middle of downtown makes it a little difficult for a lot of these folks to get there. So we appreciate the cooperation and the availability of Mountain Line to get those folks where they need to go. And that's why I find it's essential to make this funding request happen.
And we've been able to do all this through our local support, so we're always really grateful for you all, and just being able to keep that price down for our community. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consideration or recommendation received from Assessor Mark Music regarding tax tickets issued with minimal value assessment. And you want me to do an explanation first of what we're talking about?
Well,
or-
it's the recommendation is to not pursue reissuing those tickets.
No
on-
corrective action.
Or no corrective action.
No corrective
So,
action.
based upon that, I would make a motion to not take any corrective action for those no-cost tickets.
Not to the, correct. Second.
To take no corrective
To
action.
take
Yeah,
no
it's a double
corrective
negative, I'm
action.
sorry.
And we
Yeah.
discussed this in a public meeting. We had a work session with the
And the
state.
state.
And I forget the individual from the state. Her name, do you know off the top of your head?
It's Dina Sheets.
She was very, and that's what we were holding up on, as this letter came from the assessor. It was September 12th, but we got this request, and before we dealt with this request, and essentially what the assessor did in concert with our tax office, they went and looked at these minimal value tickets. If they went back and reissued these, what would it actually cost to do, to issue those, and then what were we actually capturing? So the final amount that we would actually lose just trying to issue these tickets would be about $21,000. So it wasn't really cost effective, but we as a commission didn't want to take an action until we were sure that the requirements to mitigate this problem were addressed. And that's why we finally ended up having a meeting with the state last week. And it turns out that it was really more of a IT issue, that they really weren't tracking requests to upload the data, that someone could issue, for lack of a better word, I'm going to call it a heat ticket to do those uploads, and then someone else can do it, or somebody else can get in the system. So they've assured us that they understood the problem, and they were addressing it. And again, in addition, our assessor's office has put measures in place to do some QCing of the data to make sure that these items aren't missed. So I think we have what we wanted. We wanted assurance that this wasn't just going to keep happening, that something was being done to fix the problem. And I believe we got that in talking with the assessor's office and the state tax office, and I really appreciate her coming in and explaining everything that happened. So usually when you get called by a commission, it's kind of right off the bat an adversarial conversation, but she was very humble and very appreciative of us taking time to talk to her and understand what occurred. So we anything else?
Nope.
We have a first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consideration to release RFP 2024 MCC 005, expansion of broadband network in Monongalia County.
Move to approve the release of the RFP.
Second.
Okay, and I'm going to really try to keep it brief, but I'm just doing a little summary on what this actually is. Obviously, the county allocated about 8 to 10 million to broadband access. We started with our comprehensive plan. We then took that comprehensive plan and used the details of it to issue RFP 1, which we released in October 23, and that was awarded to Comcast in early 2024 at a cost of about $5.4 million to connect 22,175 unserved locations. This RFP 2, and my working title for this project all along has been the Orphan Broadband Project, because with all the dollars floating around, it was really hard to, we recognize and we hear from our citizens about all the little donut holes out there in the community, and we can see those holes, and we know that some of the areas aren't big enough to really justify an ISP coming in and wanting to focus on those areas. Most of the ISPs are focusing on the big areas where they can get the most bang for the buck. And as a business, I don't deny that. This program was meant to find those holes. Our consultants did extensive analysis of the state broadband information. We got a license for the SEC data fabric map. We compared that with what we had from our own studies. We added the addresses that we accomplished with the whole concept of the Comcast project to try to get to a point where it really pointed out the donut holes and provide that map for ISPs in the area to address. We did do a reach out to every ISP that's actually does business in the county to let them know about this, to let them know what we were trying to accomplish, and to really just kind of point them in these neighborhoods that otherwise wouldn't get pointed to. I'd have to say for years, tens of years, because there was so much money focusing on the big areas and the big chunks of individuals. So, and the feedback that we received was pretty positive about wanting to do this, because these dollars, and this is a very accelerated RFP. We have to obligate the remaining. It's about $1,250,000 that we have to obligate towards broadband funding. We have to define the projects and allocate those dollars by the end of the year. So it's a real fast-tracked RFP, and we hope it's going to be a lot of work in the next couple months to get to that point. But I think we're going to be able to address a lot of these different holes, just like the Higgins community that came in one time.
Exactly.
They're out there. And sometimes all these ISPs need is a little push to say, hey, you can get money to go into this neighborhood. You don't have to go it alone. And oddly enough, the applications for BEAD are due tomorrow. And all these entities are also looking at BEAD, so it's going to be kind of a chess match. But these are guaranteed dollars that we're going to obligate by the end of the year. The BEAD dollars, those projects probably won't be approved until 2026. So this hopefully will get, again, it was our commitment when we got our broadband dollars, or our ARPA dollars, to commit half of it to broadband connectivity and the other half to economic development. And broadband is economic development. So, we have done that. Once we get responses in and proposals to approve, we will have allocated the last of these dollars, and we will be taking a huge step towards that goal. So having said that, I don't think there's anything else I need to mention. I did want to point to one area of the RFP and make sure that ISPs and individuals out there that be interested in this understand. If there are multiple areas, groups of addresses, or mini projects or phases that can be standalone, please identify them in the respective costs as such. So we're asking for any possible solutions that could access these dollars, and we can work in partnership with those ISPs to obligate these dollars and connect people sooner rather than later. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Any more new business for this evening? Reports from elected officials and/or department supervisors. We have elected officials out there whose terms expired.
That's exactly right.
Reports from county commissioners. Tom?
Just that at the new mall, Morgantown Mall, we will be having our monthly food giveaway. On Saturday, I'm sorry. That's it.
Just early voting started today, all across the state. Please visit one of our early voting locations, get your votes cast, and I get some other stuff, but that's good.
Yeah.
Let's save it till next
We're going
week.
to cut everybody a break. Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner Arnett. Early voting does start today. I encourage people, there's too many things that can happen on Election Day. Please get out and vote. I'm one of those old fossils that like to vote on Election Day, but I've almost forgot a couple of times. Please get out and exercise your right to have a say as far as who sits in these chairs and who's in all the different county and state offices. And if you aren't willing to do something about it by at least voting, then you really don't have a right to complain, though you still will. And I do want to appreciate our consultants, Jessica Fowler, Chris Miller, Colleen Gallagher, that have worked with me almost endlessly in the last couple of weeks putting this RFP together, and we're going to be kind of attached at the hip through the next couple of weeks. And I really appreciate all their efforts. And Maria, I don't know if you're still here. Thank you for your efforts in working with us. And thanks to the city for also, Councilperson Celine was involved in all those discussions. I really appreciate having those conversations. So other than that, I won't bore you with my previous week.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Where are we going?